Thanks so much, everyone. Again, my name is LaVerne Canady, and I'm a communications specialist with the National Resource Center, mostly supporting Safe Schools, Healthy Students grantees and Project Launch grantees, and helping those grantees become effective communicators. And I've been involved with Safe Schools, Healthy Students for about 8 years. And it's always a thrill to be around practitioners in the field and have an opportunity to kind of commiserate with all of you and touch what's actually happening. So I'm hoping to add some fresh perspective to your communication efforts. And during our time together, I'm gonna be talking about strengths-based communication, taking a strengths-based approach to communication. And first, we're gonna review the importance of communication and why it actually matters to your efforts. We're gonna explore a strengths-based approach to communication, and we're gonna explore the role of incorporating values in your messages. And then I'm gonna talk to you about some tools and resources that we have that can help you with your message development. So communication in its most simple form, if we just think about the straightforward definition, is really just an exchange of information. But what we're all involved in is really persuasive communication, because we really want to engage people and engage them to take action. Whether it's reaching out to parents to get them to participate in your programs, or engaging business leaders to sponsor an event, or even reaching out to foundations to support your work financially. All of these activities really require making the case for why your work matters. And as Mary kind of said, at the end of the day, you may have effective programs and services, but if no one knows about them, or if you're unable to communicate your successes, then your work may not move forward as quickly as you would like. So, why communicate? Because communication contributes to your programmatic success. It raises awareness and increases knowledge of issues like mental health promotion and youth violence prevention. Persuades others that you are indeed solving critical problems. And it, of course, generates buy-in for your programs. And it also encourages behavior change, or we like to say we want your audiences to take action in your favor. Communication also contributes to your sustainability efforts, because you can deepen old relationships, and as Joanne talked about, you can forge new relationships with new stakeholders, because communication persuades others to get on board with the work that you're actually doing. So key to successful communication is knowing those audiences or stakeholders that you want to potentially reach out to. Do their beliefs, values, and priorities align with yours? Because ultimately you want those audiences to take some type of action on your behalf. And of course, some audiences may be ready to jump on board right away. You may have other audiences that are kind of in the middle of the road. They need more information. They really want to see examples of your successes. And then still yet, you're going to have audiences that aren't willing to engage at that particular time. But part of knowing your audience is understanding how ready they are to actually engage and connect with your work. So just as important as knowing your audience is knowing your values. And values are really key to successful communication, and really key to successful strengths-based communication in particular. And so when we're talking about values, we're talking about the big picture vision of what you want for your community and your state. The way you would contemplate this is by asking the question, what kind of world do you want to live in? And so here I have on this slide some examples of some of the types of values that may be important to you and your audience. Things like responsiveness and family, connectedness, diversity, being committed, safety and security. When you identify values, it crystallizes for everyone around the table why you're there, and that it also serves as a guidepost for reaching out to those new audiences. So now I'm going to give you a definition of strengths-based communication. And really what we're doing with this definition is we're pulling from strengths-based approaches that are used in social work practice, which really emphasizes the self-determination and strengths. And it's a philosophy that I'm sure all of you know It's a philosophy where you view the individuals that you're working with as resilient and resourceful. So if we take that same strengths-based practice and apply it to communication, it means that we're really focusing on portraying and nurturing the strengths and the potential of your work. And it can help your audiences move from just awareness of the challenges and problems to really start to take action and participate in building the future of what you want your world to look like. It gives your audiences an idea of the options and the possibilities for the future. So when you take a strengths-based approach, well, what does that look like when you're talking about communication? And so what it really means is that you're going to showcase your solutions that your programs and services are offering, that you're going to lead with the positive. It doesn't mean, don't talk about the challenges at all, but whenever possible, try to lead with a positive state of a positive perspective. You're also going to use data to frame your issues and make it seem real for your audiences. And then finally, you're going to incorporate those core values that I talked about earlier. So of all of the communication strategies and tactics that you can kind of employ, the place for taking a strengths-based approach is really in developing your messages. And so just some reminders about what makes for an effective message. You want to make sure your messages are culturally competent, that they're straightforward and don't have a lot of jargon, that you're humanizing the message for your audience, that it feels real to your audience. And that one thing that's really important about developing messages, you can be concerned with the content, but also take into consideration how the message is being delivered, who's delivering it, because that could just as easily turn off your audience as the content of the message. So I wanted to give some examples of strengths-based communication, and I've chosen some examples from SAMHSA. So as you all know, SAMHSA is a federal agency that deals with an array of issues such as mental illness, mental health services, bullying, suicide prevention, and these are issues that are naturally difficult for the general public to kind of wrap their mind around. But what SAMHSA has done, they've taken an approach to talk about these issues from the strongest position possible and from a hopeful position. So the first statement that I have there is actually SAMHSA's vision statement, and it says, behavioral health is essential to health. Now for all of us who work in this, you 100% agree with that. It is the foundation of even your physical health. Prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. So they take this vision statement, SAMHSA takes this vision statement and incorporates it throughout all of their press materials, their events. The second item that I have there is a web banner from Recovery Month, which is an observance that SAMHSA leads. And it says, join the Voices for Recovery, visible, vocal, valuable. And you see how they're pulling in that statement of people recover into their communication. The third item that I have there is another web banner, and it's from the underage drinking campaign that SAMHSA manages. So instead of telling young people, don't binge drink, this program takes the approach of focusing on those trusted adults that kids can talk to. So it's operating from a position of strength. So those are just some examples from sort of the federal level. And so now I want to give you an example from an actual current Safe Schools Healthy Students grantee. In addition to New Hampshire and some other states, I also have the opportunity to work with Michigan. And one of the local school districts is Detroit. Now, Detroit is facing incredible challenges. I'm sure you've read all about it. You know, they have people fleeing the city. They don't have a tax base. The school district, in fact, was split into 2 districts. Now they're going back to 1. So it's heavy, heavy, heavy with challenges. So the team there decided, look, we can't focus on the problems right now. I mean, we're going to focus on the problems, but we still have to keep our eye on the prize and think about the vision and the future that we want to see in our local community. So they created this vision statement, and you can kind of see, you know, what they value coming through, and those are values of community, and at the end, it says that one of their goals is to bring students forward to achieve their full potential, which is one of their values. And so the image that you see there is actually their logo, and they named their initiative Together We Thrive. And so as you can see in the tree, there's school, students, and community kind of represented there. And so they have taken an approach to stay hopeful while they're addressing the challenges in Detroit. And they pull that all the way through all of their communication materials. So values-based messages are an important tool for strengths-based communication. They align your work with audiences' values and priorities, and they speak to those audiences that are ready to get on board and ready to support you. And these messages, of course, can be repurposed and put into your print materials and presentations. So I just want to share with you an example of how those values can be pulled into an actual message. And this example is to persuade business leaders to support expansion of a mentoring program. And so I have here sort of a value frame or value statement, which is we all want to see our youth get every opportunity they need to grow up well and become an asset to our community in every way, including our workforce. And this statement includes the values of community, being growth-oriented, and lifelong success. And so when we flesh that out and actually incorporate that into an actual message, I have here a full message with sort of the elements highlighted that I've talked about. It starts out with, our successful mentoring program is making an enormous difference in the lives of children at risk and their adult mentors. So you're starting from a position of strength and talking about how your program is successful. We have a classroom full of children who face steep challenges but are now set to graduate. And yes, we can do that. We've done it. There's a data point here. Just as important, 4 out of 5 mentors tell us they truly value the experience. So you're telling the business owner, hey, we have people from different workplaces that are already getting something out of this. And then finally, well, the ask is your company could provide this kind of experience for your employees today while creating a strong workforce for tomorrow. And then finally, we add in some benefits to the audience that you're talking to. We say, additionally, we will enthusiastically promote your company's support on our website, in our newsletters, and at our events. So now I'm just going to quickly share some tools and resources that are on the resources page on the NewHampshireStudentWellness.org website. And these tools can help you start to think about strengths-based communication. So the first tool is an elevator pitch worksheet. An elevator pitch is really a concise plan statement about your initiative that anyone can understand in the time that it takes to ride up in an elevator. So we'll say like to the 8th floor or something like that. So we kind of broken this down into sort of 4 sections. So first would be, you want to get their attention either with a story or an important data point. You want to explain your initiative's plans or programs and services, and explain your program's successes. You also want to describe the outcomes, and always include a call to action. It could be something as small as go visit our website, or hey, cut me a $20,000 check for my program. These are all calls to action. Then the second tool is a communication planning workbook, and it really is a step-by-step guide to creating a large communication plan. But what I want to share with you is that there's a comprehensive section on message development where we go deeper into how you actually craft a values-based message. So some final tips, and just to recap some of the larger points, is that to adopt a strengths-based approach, you want to know your core values. What do you as a cohesive group believe? What's your ultimate vision? You also want to lead with the positive whenever possible. What's working? What good news do we have to share? You also want to highlight the benefits of your work to the particular audience. And I will also recommend developing, short elevator pitches and actually practicing them with your team to see, is this really taking a positive, hopeful, strengths-based, approach. So hopefully I've left you with sort of a slightly different way of thinking about how to approach communications. And strengths-based communication really means developing outreach strategies that invite audiences to think about the future and to get them involved in solving the problems that you're trying to address. And I just want to remind everybody that the audiences that you're communicating with today really can become your champions in the future. That's what I have. So do folks have questions? Go ahead.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I was just standing. Run over with the mic.
So I don't know if people have questions or comments or.
What would you suggest about how to balance the tension between being positive and strengths-based with the need to be realistic and demonstrate that you understand what the problems and challenges facing your audience actually are?
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on the individual situation. Like, I would never say, don't ever talk, sweep the problems under the rug, because obviously you need to show that you do have some depth in understanding the problem. But I think it's really thinking about, which audience you're trying to reach out to. So let's say, for example, if you are reaching out to a foundation, they actually would want to know that you understand what the problems really are. Whereas maybe a parent, maybe you wouldn't need to go as deeply into it, and you're trying to appeal to them on more of a making that human connection.
Any other questions? You all set? Yes, no? It's not a matter of
No, you
hollering.
can.
It's not a matter of hollering. It's that we can't get it on the video if you don't speak into the mic. Here you are.
I agree with you on finding an audience, because my last 3 jobs, shelter, homeless outreach, and now this job I have, I stop police. I don't care if I see them in the middle of the street directing traffic. I'd stop and say, here's my card.
Yeah.
Call me if there's a problem.
Yeah.
I'll save you paperwork.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, oh, well, why don't you come down to the police department later and talk to
And
me?
talk about what, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
from there, they talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
You get
And that
donations,
snowballs.
you get,
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of the work that you're doing is about relationship building. That's the same thing as communication. Communication is just a tool you use to build relationships.
So just to take the perspective of our ability to communicate with the youth that we work with in
Yes.
a variety of ways, one of the programs that Tim and I work with is called the SOROC Collaborative. It's a prevention collaborative in that way. Any tips on the use of social media, either current or next generation strategies?
My tip
to where-
is you got to do it. You got to do it if you're trying to reach youth. I have 2 teenagers, and I had to learn Snapchat. To see what's going on. I think one of the things that we always communicate to Safe Schools grantees is, if you have a group of young people that can serve as your ambassadors, allow them to really take the reins if you're not necessarily comfortable, actually doing social media yourself. Obviously, you need to monitor what they're doing, but that's one approach to use if you don't want to go whole hog. But now at this point, when I started on the Safe Schools, there wasn't any social media, and now it's exploded and becomes a way to have an actual conversation with young people who may be struggling.
So we do have Youth Move in the house, and what types of social media are you guys using at this point? Just so people can like
Yeah,
them,
so they
tweet
know.
them, whatever they're doing.
Yeah, because it's,
Who
yeah.
wants to answer? Okay.
Oh.
We can put them on our resource page for you, but if you just want to let them know what the handles are.
Yeah, currently we have an active Instagram and Facebook, and we also have a website. We have a Twitter, but I'm not sure if that's, I don't know, more geared to this audience or not. But we do have Instagram, website.
Oops, she just called y'all. She called y'all old. That was pretty diplomatic. That was pretty good. I mean, but we are old, so. Just need to teach us.
Prior to our current youth staff and youth move, we did a whole bunch of a series of focus groups, in person and online, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I just want to give one caveat to the social media you must do it thing, which is that the feedback we got from youth was, if you want to share with us, great, send us stuff, post stuff. But if you want to hear from us, come to us.
Yeah.
We want to see you in person. We want to know that you care enough
Yeah.
to get here.
Yeah.
And so I just want to, you're not going to get necessarily this reciprocity from the social media stuff that you do when you go in person or you make
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, and that's important to listen to how your audience wants certain kind of information delivered to them.
So I have a brief caveat to that, as well as just a question, sort of. So I worry sometimes that, I worry sometimes. Beyond that. So my first social media account was probably MySpace back when that was first coming out. So
Yeah, I think everybody had that.
I feel like throughout, I'm 25. I had my first account when I was 15, 16. So I feel like in some ways, young people have been sort of chased from social media platform to social media platform, just ahead of all the people who are trying to use it
To reach out to them.
reach out to
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
And so, and especially the movement, everybody talks about Snapchat now as if it's a great tool to do outreach for organizing and collaborating. And based on my use of it, it really, that's not its function.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's not conducive to that sort of activity.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if there's a danger or sort of if there needs to be a bit of moderation or more respect to, it sounds ridiculous to say the sanctity of social media, but if there needs to be a little bit of restraint.
Yes, because, I would never propose that you go out and use all forms of social media because, like you're saying with Snapchat, that may not work as well, but Twitter might. All I would suggest is explore and see which channels are going to make sense for what you want to do.
Well, thank you, LaVerne.
Thank you.